People often speak about, current events. They speak about recent events, all the challenges we've been having lately. And they talk about 2020 has been so difficult. 2020 is what's to blame. It's almost like they're blaming the year. It was 2020, this ominous year. This number came in and just wreaked havoc on the world. And in a way, they're kind of right. It's true. On the first day of the year, on Rosh Hashanah, it kind of sets the tone for what's coming for the entire year. On Rosh Hashanah, we're judged. We know this. It's part of our davening on Rosh Hashanah. But Rosh Hashanah, Sevan. It's written on the day of Rosh Hashanah, everything that's going to happen in the coming year. Who's going to live, who's not, who's going to be successful, who's not, who's going to be healthy, who's not. Everything's written on Rosh Hashanah. The whole year is basically set in motion on Rosh Hashanah. In a way, it's the most important day of the year. What they're mistaken about is that it's not 2020. It wasn't January 1st. This was written in the first day of 5780, exactly a year ago on Rosh Hashanah. 5780. All this was written for the year, starting from last Rosh Hashanah until this Rosh Hashanah. Now, when I think back about that, I remember a year ago Rosh Hashanah, I remember davening, I remember being in shul. If I was able to get a little peek at the book and see what was being written, for the coming year, if I would have seen the word coronavirus or had any concept of the year we were about to embark on, I would have intensified my prayer significantly. It would have been a different Rosh Hashanah. I would have davened completely differently. But who would have thunk? Who would have thought that this is the year that we were about to embark on? We've gone Rosh Hashanah after Rosh Hashanah, year after year, and life has been so, predictable. And if there's anything we learned over the last, how many months, is that life is not predictable. Anything can happen. Just whatever you can't imagine, it can happen. And that's what we've learned. And we come to realize here we are at a new Rosh Hashanah. And in a way, it's a very positive message, because what it means is that just because it happened last year in 5780 doesn't mean it has to happen 5781. 5781, the script hasn't been written yet. It's going to be written on Rosh Hashanah. And what is written is really dependent on us. Because if we're good, if we're coming in with the right attitude on Rosh Hashanah, with the right aspirations, if we're coming and praying and putting our hearts forward and saying this is what we want to do Hashem's will, we want to come clean, we want to do the right thing, and we're praying for a good year, we can have a completely different outcome. 5781 can be an amazing year. It has nothing, just because 5780 was not the best of years, 5781 can be a complete turnaround. The Talmud tells us that one of the things that happened on Rosh Hashanah was Yosef, and the story of the Bereshis in Genesis. Yosef was saved. He was taken out of jail, and he was saved from jail. He was, of course, in jail, wrongly accused, and he was taken out and brought before Pharaoh on Rosh Hashanah. What's the significance of this story? Well, if you think about Yosef, here was Yosef, a person who was kidnapped from his home, sold as a slave. He was used as a slave in Egypt, then he was put in jail, and he had no chance of getting out. He was in a dungeon for 12 years. And if you'd have asked Yosef on that last day, well, how's life treating you? It's pretty terrible. It just can't get any worse. He was on the bottom of the bottom. First he was kidnapped, then he's a slave, and now he's a prisoner for 12 years. And life doesn't seem to be getting any better. It was at the worst of the worst. And on that day, on that Rosh Hashanah, he was taken out of that jail, brought before Paro, and the end of the story. He ended up becoming second to the king, and he lived out the rest of his life in royalty. And it shows us the power of Rosh Hashanah. It could take a person from the bottom and bring him all the way to the top. And that's the message to us on Rosh Hashanah. Just because this past year was brutal has no bearing whatsoever on what we can do with this Rosh Hashanah. And that's something we have to have in mind going into Rosh Hashanah. What can we do? We can do amazing things. It's all up to us. I wish everybody a good year, and make 5781. May it be a great year for everybody.